Hey, it's February 3rd, 2019. This is Andrew in Omaha, Nebraska. And today I'm going to be making this long style wallet. They're kind of popular lately, and I've been seeing more and more of them online. And I wanted to try my hand at making them. One of the reasons I decided to make this is because I have all this oil tan. As you may know from some of the other videos I made, I have a ton of oil tan scrap laying around and I need to start using it up, and wallets are a perfect way to begin using that. But basically this is just a 4-pocket simple wallet, and it holds a card in each one. This is my expired Tandy Club membership card here. But this is going to be 4 to 5 ounce oil tan. I believe it's called Crazy Horse leather that I got from the Springfield Leather Company. There's also pockets here behind the main pockets. Anyway, the main body of the wallet is at the 4 to 5 ounce, and then I used my Cobra Class 14 leather splitter to cut down the pockets to 2 to 3 ounce, as well as the dividers. They're all 2 to 3 ounce, and that made it so the wallet isn't very bulky. It's actually just perfect to hold cards, and this would be comfortable inside anybody's back pocket or front pocket. It also is very flexible. Because this leather is softer, I was able to use a number 18 needle in my Cobra Class 20 flatbed sewing machine with a 138 thread. If this was like a vegetable tan leather, this would be way too firm to get away with stitching with a number 18 needle. I'd snap it right away. But the oil tan is kind of nice. I like it. It's got this little bit of a pull-up on it. And I've shown this before, but it'll take scratches and imprints, anything it rubs up against, and then after it's been rubbed on for a while, those scratches will go away. So it gives this oil tan leather a lot of character, which is pretty cool. If anybody is looking for any recommendations, if they're saving their money up that are in this hobby and they want to get a sewing machine or a splitter, and they're kind of on the fence of what they should go with, if you're really good at hand stitching leather, I would recommend getting a splitter before you get a sewing machine. And the reason that is because, you know, it opens up doors for all sorts of projects with the leather you have on hand. You know, this leather has sat in a box, you know, for almost a year now, and I couldn't make anything out of it because it was just too thick. But now that I have the splitter, I was able to cut these pockets out easily. If you have a leather splitter and you're good at hand sewing, I think that you could be turning out a lot of really good projects. And I'd hold off on getting the sewing machine until after you got the splitter. Personally, if I could do it again, I'd definitely get the splitter first. You're interested in making things such as wallets, card holders, even belts. If a belt is probably the thickest item that you would be sewing, the Springfield Leather Company just came out with a really good video on their Highland, I believe the model number is 318 flatbed sewing machine. I think it runs around $1,300, somewhere in that neighborhood, plus shipping. And that would be perfect for anybody who wants to make projects like this. The pattern I'm going to be making this out of, it's kind of a combination. I've made it myself out of poster board, which I'll show in the video. But in order to get my measurements and the angles and this swoop here on the pockets, I used a couple template patterns that I got from Justin at Makesupply out of Pennsylvania. And this is, I'm sure he has a pattern that you can buy from him for a wallet like this. However, I don't have that. What I did is I just used several pieces from different patterns that I already have from him, and I used those and just kind of improvised a little bit. And I just added where I needed to add, and I cut the pockets and everything just a little bit bigger than what I needed, because I'd rather have too much leather and be able to cut it away than not enough. The dimensions of this wallet are when it's laying flat is 7 inches by 5 inches. And then there's about a 1 inch gap here between the two pockets where the spine is. But I will leave a link in the description box for Makesupply, because I always give credit if I'm using something for design that's not my own. I will always give credit where credit is due, because I'm not going to plagiarize somebody else's pattern. But I did use, just like I said, it's not a pattern that he came out with. It's just several pieces from several of the patterns that he's made, and I just improvised and created this wallet out of that. Here's the basket of the oil tan I was talking about. The pieces aren't very big. There's a lot of long strips like I'm pulling out here, and a couple little larger pieces, but there's nothing that's big enough to make a large project out of. Nothing for a bag or any other type of larger project, like another one of those clipboards like I made. There's a tag from Springfield Leather for the Crazy Horse leather. This is a wallet that I made using a Maker's Leather Supply wallet pattern. And I made it out of this oil tan leather here in this basket. But all these pieces here are basically only good for making wallets and card holders and stuff like that. Now I'm going to start the pattern making process. This is some poster board, and I just drew out the pattern where I kind of am happy with the dimensions. Like I said earlier, this is going to be 7 inches wide and 5 inches tall, with a 1 inch spine in the middle. There I am using a plastic template from Makesupply, and this is for a business card holder, and I'm just using it for the radiuses on the corners and to draw my straightaways. And I'm just using the card here to get an idea if the dimensions I have written down or drawn down here will be sufficient to hold cards. This is a piece I selected. I'm going to be able to make this entire project off this one piece here. This is the end piece of a side that I used. I made a bunch of clipboard covers for this for Christmas last year, and this would be the end piece that was left over from one of those hides. And I'm just going to trace out each piece. I've already cut out the patterns from the poster board, and I'm just using my little anvil there to hold it down. Now I have all the pieces laid out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be using these empty spots here. I'll cut those out and use those as test pieces to run through the splitter to get the thickness just right. The main body piece right below where my pencil just was, I'm going to leave at the 4 to 5 ounce. And then these pockets and all these pieces right here, I'm going to cut them off and leave them inside this one giant strip, and I will cut that down to 2 to 3 ounce. Now I have the splitter set up. I've already run my test pieces through, and I have it set at the exact thickness that I want these pockets to be cut down to. And I just started with the narrow end, and it's going to work its way through. And this splitter does a great job of making a nice even piece. And there's the split down there on the bottom that just rolled out. Now these pieces are the perfect thickness for the pockets on this wallet. Now I'm going to just kind of mock up everything. I've already cut the pockets out of that piece of leather that I just pulled out of the splitter. They're all down to 2 to 3 ounce, including these divider pieces here. And the main body is still 4 to 5. Now I have the two-sided sticky tape. I'm using that to stick the pockets together, get ready to stitch them down to the main divider. This is going to be the first line of stitching for this project, and I don't think there's a need to back stitch here since this line of stitching is going to be completely covered by the front piece. So I'm just going to lay down a couple stitches to hold it in place, and then I'll cut them off, or cut the threads off at the end and burn them down. Now I just got a couple of tabs of sticky tape for the front pocket. I'm going to cut those off, or rather pull the backings off using this awl. It makes it much easier to peel the backings off for this tape, and then I'm going to stick the front panel on. Now I'm just going to take the calipers and put a stitch groove in so I know where my stitch line will be and where I need to begin and end. Now I'm stitching all the pockets to the back piece divider that ultimately stitched to the main body of the wallet. But I just take 2 stitches back, and then I'm going to move my threads around so they don't get sucked down into the machine. And then I'll drop the presser foot here and go back over my stitches. That way it doesn't bulk up a whole wad of thread right there at the beginning. And I'm going to do the same thing at the end. I'll go, when I hit the end of that line, I'll turn the entire piece around, and then I'll go back over about 2 or 3 stitches, and then the stitches are locked and ready to go. This is the final step. Just going to check, make sure I got enough thread in my bobbin. That's why I like these top loading bobbins on the Class 20 versus other sewing machines where you have to load it from the bottom and you can't kind of keep an eye on how much thread's in it. But I'm just going to make one loop all the way around the entire wallet. When I come back, I'll just go back over the stitches where I started, and that'll be my back stitch. But here you're going to see me have to help it along just a little bit, because as I'm going along, the pockets are underneath here, and the pockets kind of back where my hand is now, they're just beginning to pass over the feed dog area, and they snag just a little bit on the part of the sewing machine that sticks up there. So I just got to kind of take my time and ease it through there in order to make the stitches go in. Now here I am getting towards the end. I'm going to have to lift the foot because this last stitch is going to be a little too short, and make sure the needle's going right where I need it. Now I'm going to drop the presser foot and then continue all the way down, and then now I'm going back over the stitches that I just made, and I'm locking them down. But as you're going to see, the wallet turned out really nice, I think, for something that you can't finish the edges on. You can't really finish the edges on oil tan leather, but it kind of has almost like a saddleback leather look to it, because this is kind of the type of leather that they use for their products. And all the pockets line up and the stitching all sunk in correctly. So I'm going to cut off the threads here from the sewing machine, the excess ones, burn them off, and this project is going to be finished. This is a fun project to make. I plan on making a lot more of these types of projects in order to get through this scrap, so I can utilize as much of the hide as I possibly can, because I don't want to throw good leather away. So This is just something I came up with on the fly using the resources that I have at hand to make the pattern. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is Andrew in Omaha, Nebraska. Have a nice day.